Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, we will read the chapter, The Treasure Within, which most of you will relate with yourself. Treasure is the wealth, the property, the precious things that a person possesses. But as it is said that the real treasure is within a person, his abilities, his capabilities. In this chapter, we will study about Mr. Hafiz Contractor, who is one of India's leading architect. But he was not a very bright student. Let's study about his journey through this chapter, The Treasure Within. Every child is a potential achiever and is different from other children in his style of learning and area of interest. All of you will agree with this that every child has a capability. Not all children are same. They have their own area of interest, their own way of learning. And every child is a potential achiever. He or she, if given chance, if given opportunity, can prove himself or herself. Read the interview that follows. It is based on a conversation between Mrs. Bela Raja, editor of Sparsh, a newsletter from Resource Center, the Valley School, Bangalore, and Mr. Hafiz Contractor, one of India's leading architect. So this chapter is in the form of a conversation, an interview between Mrs. Bela Raja, who is editor of Sparsh, of newsletter of the Valley School, Bangalore. Newsletter is a periodically coming kind of magazine which can come monthly, weekly or bi-weekly. So this is an interview between Mrs. Bela Raja and Mr. Hafiz Contractor, one of India's leading architects. In this part, we will see that Hafiz Contractor was an unhappy schoolboy. He loved doing things but detested, that means hated, mechanical learning. Mathematics gave him the shivers. Shivers means he was scared of it. What his principal once said to him influenced him deeply. Hafiz Contractor did not like school at all. He hated mechanical learning. Mechanical learning is just reading from book, learning from book without its practical application, without understanding where it is used. And mathematics gave him shiver. He was scared of mathematics. Once his principal told him something which influenced him deeply, which affected his life very much. Now this is an interview. HC stands for Hafiz Contractor and BR stands for Bela Raja. Hafiz Contractor, I used to have this terrible nightmare, that means scary dream. Only now, over the last 4 to 5 years, it seemed to have disappeared. Bela Raja, what nightmare are you talking about and why do you think it has disappeared now? So Hafiz Contractor told that I used to get this scary dream and now over the last 4 to 5 years, those dreams have disappeared. They have gone. And Bela Raja asked, what dream are you talking about and why it has gone now? And then he said, I used to get continuous nightmares about appearing for a mathematics examination where I did not know anything. Now the psyche means the mentality, must have gotten over it. I don't have to think about education and there is absolutely no time to get nightmares. Now this happens with me also. Still I get this kind of dreams that I'm appearing for exams and I'm not able to write anything. Hafiz Contractor is talking about the same thing. Since he was scared of mathematics, he used to get this scary dream that he is appearing for the examination and he does not know anything. He's not able to write anything. And now it has disappeared. He doesn't get the scary dream anymore because the mentality has gotten over. That means it is over because he no more thinks about that. And also he doesn't have time to get a nightmare because he is a very busy person now. Tell us something about your earliest memories in the school. So Hafiz Contractor is asked by Bela Raja to tell something about his very initial memories that he remembered from school. Hafiz Contractor says that in the first year and second year, he was not a good student. And when he reached to third standard, he simply lost interest and he never studied. Then he says, I used to be interested in games, running around, playing jokes and pranks on others. I would copy in class during exam time. I would try to get hold of examination paper that had been prepared and studied, as I could not remember things that had been taught to me in class. So he says that he was interested in games and running around and making jokes, pranks on others, and he would copy during the exam time from someone, and he would try to get the examination paper if he could because he did not prepare for the study. and he couldn't remember things that he has to write in examination or that has been told. So he used to do all these otherwise things. However, later, one sentence spoken to me by my principal changed my life. When I approached my 11th standard, the principal called me and said, "Look here, son, I have been seeing you from day one. You are a good student, but you never studied. I have taken care of you till today. Now I can no longer take care of you, so you do it yourself." So, however, when Hafiz was in 11th grade, his principal said something to him which changed his life. And he said that he called him and he said that, "Son, I have been taking care of you from day one. I have been seeing you. You are a very good student, but you never study. So till now I have taken care of you, but I cannot any longer do it. Now you have to take care of yourself." He talked to me for 5 minutes. "You don't have your father. Your mother has worked so hard to bring you up and paid all your fee all these years, but you have only played games. Now you should rise to the occasion and study." Rise to the occasion means be mature and behave according to situations. Then the principal further said that you don't have father. Your mother has worked so hard to bring you to this place. She has paid your fee for years, and now you have to understand the situation. You have to be mature. You're growing up and you have to work according to situation. I used to be a very good sportsman. I had been the senior champion for so many years, and I also was the cricket captain. I used to play every game, but that year I did not step out into the field. I would go for prayers and all I would do was eat and study. I normally used to copy and pass, but I realized that once I was in SSC. SSC is senior classes. I could not do that. So Hafiz says that he was a good sportsman, and what he used to do was to play. He was a cricket captain. He used to play every game. But that year when he spoke to his principal, he did not step out into the field. He would just go for prayers and then he would come, eat and study. He normally used to copy in the examination and pass, but he realized that once he is in senior classes, he is in secondary class, he cannot do that. So in SSC, that means in his 12th exam, SSC is 12th, he got 50%. And the principal again said, "Son, consider yourself as having got a distinction." Distinction means 75%. Although he got 50%, but the principal said that consider that you have got 75%. This is my memory of my school days. So this is what Hafiz contractor told about his memory of his school days. "I did lots of other things. See, as far as my things are concerned, I can't remember. I forget things very easily. To remember, I have to see things as a photograph. I read a book and I can remember the matter as a photograph, but not through my mind. This is how it works." So Hafiz contractor further says that he cannot remember what he reads, but he has to see the things as photograph. In a picture also, he sees it as a picture. So picture remains in mind of people for a longer time rather than words. So this is what the same thing happened with Hafiz contractor. He would remember everything as a picture. It remained in his mind as a picture, and this is how it worked for him. Bella Raja: when you were in school and you were doing badly, did the teacher pull you up and how did you feel? Pull you up means punished or scolded you. So when you were doing bad things, did your teacher scold you? Hafiz contractor: I never felt anything on being pulled up. I used to be so interested in playing. I would receive a caning every week. Caning means scolding, punishment, beating. So he said that I never felt bad when I was punished or scolded because I used to get it every week because he was a very mischievous boy. When you knew that you had incurred the wrath of your teacher. So now the interviewer is again asking, incurred the wrath of your teacher, that means made your teacher very angry. So when you know that you have made your teacher very angry by not doing your homework or by behaving badly, when you knew you would get a caning, what was the state of your mind? What used to be your mental status at that time when you knew that you have made your teacher very angry and you are going to get caning? State of mind? I just lift up the hand and they would can you. It would hurt badly and then I would have to forget about it because I would want to go and play. So Hafiz contractor said that nothing in the state of mind. You just have to lift up your hand. I am sure some of you do the same thing. That you just have to lift up your hand. You have to get caning. For some time it would hurt, but then you have to forget it and then you have to go and play. That's what Hafiz contractor replied. Bella Raja, you never felt insecure or threatened. Didn't you ever feel insecure? Didn't you ever feel that you are at a bad place or you are threatened? You are just doing something which can put you in bad place. Hafiz contractor, I was just interested in playing and nothing else. I was most interested in funny pranks. One day I did not want to study, so I created a distraction. Distraction means diverting mind of people towards something else, something amusing or something pleasurable or interesting. For 1 whole hour, we played Chor Police. So he said that I was just interested in playing and I was interested in making funny pranks, funny jokes. So one day I was not interested in study. So I created this kind of distraction, and for 1 whole hour, we played Chor Police. I'm sure Chor Police is the game which everybody knows. So he created this kind of diversion, this kind of distraction in the class, and the whole class played Chor Police for complete 1 hour. Every Saturday we were allowed to go into town to see a movie. So what I would do was have no lunch and collect money from 40-50 students and run and buy the tickets. On my way back, I would eat to my heart's content. That means eat as much as I wanted. So every Saturday they were allowed, he used to live in a hostel, and they were allowed to go and watch movie. He would collect money from 40 to 50 students and then he would run and he would buy ticket on his way back, coming back, and he would buy ticket to the movie, and on his way back, coming back from the movie, he would eat as much as he wanted. I used to be the leader of a gang. We would have gang fights and plan strategies. These things used to interest me more than any academics. So Hafiz contractor says that he had a gang and he used to be leader. And these gangs were involved in fighting, planning and plotting, doing some mischiefs, creating some distraction. And academics, that means things related to study, never interested me. He was more interested in doing otherwise things. Students used to book my textbook for the following year because they were almost brand new. I probably opened them one day before exam. So student who would go to his class the next year, they used to book his books previously. They used to tell him that I would take books from you because they used to be so brand new, because Hafiz contractor opened them only during exam, and when they are not open, they would be like new only. Now the second part. In the second part, we will study that he stumbled on architecture because he knew little French and less German. Stumbled on means to get something, happen to do something by chance. So he stumbled, that means he became he get into architecture by chance because he knew little French and less German. He was offbeat even in pranks that he played on others. Offbeat means different, unusual. So even in the pranks, he was different from others. And when he found his calling, there was no looking back. His calling means what he was actually interested in, what he actually wanted to do. That is calling. There was no looking back. Then he never looked back. How did you get into the field of architecture? Now Bella Raja asked Hafiz how did he get admission into the field of architecture, on which Hafiz replied that in the college for architecture, nobody was given admission if he or she had below 80-85%. Hafiz had only 50%, so obviously he couldn't get admission there. He wanted to join army. He even got his admission letter, but his aunt tore it up, so he was not allowed to join army. Then Hafiz decided to join police force. On that also, his mother told him not to join police force, but do graduation. So Hafiz went into Jai Hind College in Bombay, which is now Mumbai. There he had to take either French or German. Though Hafiz had studied German for 7 years, he did not know even 7 words of French. So he took German. But his German teacher died and the college told him to either change the college or take French. Now, who would give admission to Hafiz? He said because in Jai Hind College also he had taken admission by influence. That means by reference of somebody who was in big position. So here he had got admission by influence. How would he get admission in any other college? So Hafiz thought of taking French. It is okay, I will take French, he thought. And he started learning French again. And he learned it from one of his cousin who was an architect's wife. And now he was going to an architect's office to learn French. Now Bella Raja asked, was it then that you decided you want to do architecture? And Hafiz replied, actually it happened quite by chance. So he said that it was not by my choice, it happened by chance. In the architect's office, I saw somebody drawing a window detail. A window detail is a very advanced drawing. I told him that his drawing was wrong, that the window he had drawn would not open. So how did it happen? In the architect's office, Hafiz saw somebody drawing a window detail, which is a very advanced drawing. It should be done very carefully. And Hafiz told him that this drawing was wrong because the window will not open. And then he had a bet with that person who was drawing. And later the person found that indeed his drawing was wrong. Now Hafiz's cousin's husband saw it and he was very surprised, and he asked him to draw a few specific things which Hafiz drew immediately. Then his brother-in-law, he asked him to design a house, and Hafiz designed a house. After that, he told Hafiz to drop everything and join architecture. Now they went to meet principal of the college, and the principal warned Hafiz that he would allow him to take part in the entrance exam for architecture, but if he doesn't do well, he will not allow Hafiz to join it. And Hafiz says, I got an A+ in the entrance exam, and from that day it was a cakewalk. Cakewalk means very smooth and easy. So in the entrance exam, Hafiz got A+, and from that day onwards it was a very easy, everything was very easy for him. Hafiz never made plan, but he knew how something looked like from the top. He had a great mind. He never studied, he never made plan, but he could visualize, he could imagine how something would look from top. I had never known what a section was, but I knew if you cut a plan, if you cut a plan, what it would look like. So he never had sections, he never studied, but he had a very great vision. He knew if you cut a plan, how would it look like. And Hafiz stood first throughout after that. I believe that all this understanding came from what I used to play and do during school. So Hafiz believed that though he did not study, but all his understanding, all his visions came from what he used to do during his school. I had a friend called Behram Devicha. He used to have competition. We used to have competition between us for designing forts, guns and ammunition. Each of us would design something in an effort to be different. So in his school, he had a friend called Behram Devicha, where with him he used to have competition of designing things like forts, guns, ammunitions or weapons, and both of them used to design something in different way to be different. In school, when I was in second or third standard, one of my teachers, Mrs. Gupta, saw my sketches and told me, see, you are useless in everything else, but your sketches are good. When you grow up, you become an architect. So in the school also, one of his teacher, Mrs. Gupta, saw his sketches, and she advised that you are not good at anything else, but your sketches are very good and you should become an architect. I did not know at that time, but she was right. So Hafiz had no idea at that time, but his teacher was good. And later when Hafiz became an architect, he went to meet and tell her. Why do you think you did not like studies? Was it because you felt you could not cope, could not deal with the curriculum? Cope means manage or handle. So she asked, why were you not interested in studies? Do you think that you would not be able to handle and cope with the curriculum, with the syllabus? And Hafiz says that I was very bad at languages, science and geography. I could deal with maths, was very bad. So he said that he was very bad at languages, like Hindi, English and other languages. He could deal with science and geography, but in maths he was very bad. And he was just not interested in studying. He couldn't just study for the sake of studies. What they taught me today, I would forget after 2 days. So whatever they taught in school, he would forget. He was not at all somebody who could retain what has been taught. And I would not bother because there was no application of mind there to begin with. And as we saw in the beginning, that he was not interested in mechanical studies. So whatever was taught in the school and without application, without practically doing it, could not remain in his mind. So Bella Raja says, did you think that what they taught in school was boring, or did you feel that once you understood the concept of what was being taught, you lost interest in the rest of the lesson? So she asked, do you think that whatever was taught was boring, or do you think that whatever concept they are teaching, you will lose interest in it soon? You will lose interest, you will not be interested. And Hafiz contractor says that living in a boarding school is difficult. We were just living from day to day. Nowadays there are so many tests. Back then, whenever we had tests, we used to just copy. The teacher thought that we had done our work. So he says that living in boarding school is difficult. Nowadays schools conduct many tests, but during those days we just used to copy during our test, and the teacher used to think that we have done our work. There is a contention that contention means belief that giftedness means having special abilities, and learning disabilities go hand in hand. Do you think this applies to you? So she says that there is a belief that having abilities and not being able to learn, these are two things that go hand in hand. You do have abilities, you do have natural abilities, but when mechanically done, you are not able to learn. Do you think that it's true? Well, take some students from my class. Those who always stood first or second are today doing very ordinary job. So Hafiz contractor says that yes, it can be true. For example, those students who are very good in learning, they are not doing very ordinary job. Bella Raja says that even I have come across such situations at different places where people tell me that they have been class toppers and now they are doing very ordinary things. Hafiz contractor says that in school, I think doing things on our own made us street smart. That means smart by doing things independently and not by forcing. And he says that he has learned more by doing what he wanted to do on his own rather than what academics taught them. And Bella Raja says that this is because the personality and skills were there. So this is because you had the personality, you had the thought, you had the skill. You are able to find expressions in a manner you were comfortable with, and you defied every rule. Defied means broke, so that nobody would stop you from doing that you needed to. So Bella Raja says that it is because you had that personality and skill and you were able to express yourself in the way you wanted to. You did not follow the rules that would stop you from doing what you wanted to do. And Hafiz says that I was more interested in other things. For example, while in class, if it started raining, I would just think of the flow of water and how to build a dam to block it. And I would be thinking about flow of water within the dam and how much of water the dam would be able to hold. So he would think that if he made a dam, how much of water the dam will hold. This was my interest for the day. So that is how he was interested in such kind of things. When a student lost his button while playing or fighting, then they would come running to Hafiz, and Hafiz would cut a button from a chalk using a blade, because discipline was very important in the school and no student can afford to miss a button. So this is how different things Hafiz used to do, which added to his personality later. The student would get past dinner with a full neat uniform, and after that it did not matter. So even during dinner time, the chalk button would work, and after that it didn't matter if he had button or not. Now Bella Raja, coming to the present, how do you decide as to what kind of structure you want to give to a client? So Bella Raja asked that in present day, how do you decide that what kind of structure, what kind of design do you want to make for your client? And Hafiz says that I look at the client's face, his clothes, the way he talks, the way he walks, the way he pronounces, he eats, and then I would know the taste of that person. And I can relate to people in a way that the person would be comfortable. So just by looking at the person, his personality, his way of doing things, Hafiz would understand the person and make designs for him. And I sketch very spontaneously. Spontaneously means very much on the spot, out of gut feeling. On paper, on the spot, the paper I give to my people in the office. So on the spot he would design, and then he would give the paper to the people in his office. You do it instinctively. Instinctively means naturally, not coming out of training. You are not trained for it. What your guts tell you. You do it instinctively. Yes. Call it instinct, call it arithmetic, whatever. Now it comes to me like mathematics. So he says that you can call it instinct, you can call it arithmetic, even you can call it mathematics. It is for me like a mathematics. Putting design, construction, psychology, sociology together and making a sketch from all this is mathematics. So according to Hafiz, what is mathematics? It is putting designs, construction, psychology, sociology all together and making a sketch out of it. So now he has given his own new definition to mathematics. Here we almost come to a full circle where Mr. Contractor has derived his own interpretation of mathematics, taking it from subject he hated to a subject he now loves dealing with. So now here we come to the end of this interview where Mr. Contractor has developed his own definition, his own interpretation of mathematics from subject he hated the most to the subject he loves dealing with nowadays. He has designed his own mathematics, and what is it? Putting designs, construction, psychology, sociology, all of them together and making sketch out of it. So didn't he use the treasure that he has within? What treasure do you have, children, within yourself? Just write to me in comments and let me know. Now here are the question answers from the chapter that you can go through. You should better write it yourself and then cross-check it. Let me see your opinion on the question answers. You can pause the video and see the question answers here. I will hold it because I have been getting this comment that other video appears before we could see the question answer. So I will hold it here for 20-30 seconds so that you can read the question answers. So this was about the chapter, students. I will see you in my next video. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care.